All right, before we begin today's episode, we have to give our Patreon shout-outs. They are our patrons over at Patreon. They're the ones sponsoring our show. And we have Eric Sari, Andy Herbrandt, Paul C., Lauren L., and Nate Hansen. Thank you guys for your contribution and keeping the lights on here in the studio. So, Eric, cue up that music.
Hey, welcome to the Wisconsin Drunken History Podcast. We are your hosts, Eric Sturgeon.
And I'm Russell Sari.
This podcast is about all things Wisconsin, history, music, culture, and beer. Although we don't often use strong language, the content is not intended for young audiences, so listener discretion is advised.
If you love the bluegrass music you hear in this intro, please check out Dang It's from Madison, Wisconsin by visiting their website, dang-its.com. Now on to the show.
Okay, welcome everyone to another episode of Wisconsin Drunken History Podcast, your weekly dose of the Dairy State. We, of course, are your hosts, Eric.
And I'm Russ.
And today we have a very special episode that is very near and dear to most music fans. And if you've heard just about any album ever, one of them is bound to be produced by the Nevermind man himself, Butch Vig.
Holy smokes.
I mean, talk about a more legendary individual when it comes to music, right? So we also have music from American Bandits, which is a band that I could see being produced by Butch Vig at some point, you know. We have another beer review and another edition of the legendary How Many Locals You At? As well as a great special guest interview that I'm sure you didn't see coming, but we definitely have one.
Yeah.
And as always, be sure to go on to our all of our social media pages, and then also the YouTube and Apple Podcast stuff. Please rate us, like us, subscribe to us. All that stuff really honestly helps more than you probably know, and more than we even really knew. But it's some sort of an algorithm, and all of those little clicks on the computer system, it all really helps. So,
and this episode,
a 5-star.
Yeah, and this episode's going to be airing on my birthday, actually.
This is a birthday episode,
Holy
everyone.
smokes.
Could you believe this?
So this episode will be on September 12th. My birthday is September 13th. So, yeah, I'm going to be freaking 35. Holy shit, man. I mean, I'm getting old, gray.
You're old as fuck.
I know. I got some wrinkles. I'm getting old, dude. And, yeah, it's been a crazy freaking year, too. The last couple of years have just been freaking nuts, man. I mean, I had a job change going to Mexico, like, nonstop. I'm glad I'm done with that. Like, what a crazy year. But man, let's just keep this podcast rolling and keep doing great things, you know.
And you know, the 5 people that we mentioned sort of at the top of the episode,
huge.
Their contribution really does help keep everything turning here. So hey, if you want to learn more about the Patreon or check out our TeePublic, which are all things that really help kind of keep things turning here, just go to our website, which is WisconsinDrunkenHistory.com. You can find everything that we have there, as well as listen to new episodes. Most of the time we have those posted same day as the episodes launch. It's a little bit behind sometimes with the release onto Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Google stuff. So if it's not posted same day, it'll definitely be posted next day. And hey, if you don't have the money, but you are really loving this podcast and you really like what we do, word of mouth is also one of the best pieces of marketing that we can possibly get. A quick share of an episode onto your social media page could be just as advantageous as anything else. So
yeah, and not share the music, right? Like,
yeah, not share. Yeah,
yeah.
Also,
actually
not share.
Right? Yeah, but actually share the damn thing. Right?
Yeah,
okay.
Share the damn thing, not CHER the damn thing.
All right.
God,
Oof.
that we avoided a real disaster.
Oh
here.
yeah, we do.
All right. So let's just jump into the main segment here. We're talking about Butch fucking Vig.
Yeah, I mean, how can you sum up a legend like this in a small episode? Well, I had to do the best I could, right?
So we can't. So let's just end the episode now.
Yeah, let's just see you guys next week. So me and my co-hosts are both massive fans of music, and of course the legend Butch Vig. He was born right here in the great state of Wisconsin, and we had to have him on the show.
Viroqua?
Yes, sir.
As we dive in.
So born August 2nd, 1955, Brian David Vig in Viroqua, Wisconsin, to father Dr. DeVerne and Betty Vig, who was a music teacher in the area and would influence him greatly. He was one of 3 kids, and his brothers, Chris and sister Lisa. His mother would push him to take up music and would go on to originally study piano for 6 years. But this would not last long after he witnessed a concert by The Who. And who doesn't love The Who, right?
Oh, absolutely.
That influenced a lot of people to play drums, right? And he saw, The Who perform on the Smaller Brothers and immediately switched directions and switched over to drums and would purchase his first kit for $60. And this is where it all begins, the whole legend of Butch Vig. He would go on to college at the University of Wisconsin, enrolled to study film direction. While attending college, he would meet future band member Steve Marker, and he is actually one of the founding members, along with Butch Vig, of Garbage.
Garbage. They just released a new album.
Yeah, they did. Pretty good, actually.
It's really good.
Early in his music career, Vig would create electronic music for low-budget films like Slumber Party and other Hollywood B movies. Vig also would join a number of garage bands in the Madison area, including Eclipse, and in 1978 would form the band Spooner, with Duke Erickson, another member of Garbage. In 1979, he would help set up the first studio in Steve Marker's basement and would start their first small label, Boat Records. They would go on to record Spooner, along with 20 other local acts during the time. This was his experimental and learning experience, which led him to our next little topic here. This led him to create Smart Studios in 1984, which is legendary, in Madison, Wisconsin, along with Steve Marker. And during this time, he was a taxi driver in Madison, as well as a drummer in the band Spooner. Spooner began to lose a bit of traction and instead started some side projects, First Person and Firetown. Firetown started becoming a priority in his life and gaining traction and securing their first album signed to Atlantic Records, which is probably one of the largest ones today.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how big Atlantic Records was then, but now it's one of the bigger ones.
It's huge. And this was where, in the studio, he started to pick up techniques, including processing and post-production. Firetown would eventually split, and Vig would go on to reform Spooner for one last album before Vig would go full-time into his production career. And this is where the legend of Butch Vig is created. And in 1991, during the early part of the grunge era, he would start to record some high-profile candidates, which you're probably going to recognize. Mm-hmm. This was Nirvana's Nevermind and Smashing Pumpkins' Gish, some of the 2 most legendary albums of that period.
Absolutely. Just 2 super iconic albums for 2 major bands.
Oh, huge. Smashing Pumpkins, it wasn't on Gish, but the other one he recorded, Siamese Dream, Mayonnaise, was one of my favorite songs growing up.
Yeah.
That song is one of my favorite songs of all time.
Just super good. My aunt went to high school with Billy Corgan.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, they were both in the same class, in Illinois somewhere. I'll think of the school here in a minute, but yeah.
And they both would become some of the best-selling records of all time. These albums would include all the techniques that he had learned, including overdubbing, dubbing, and vocal double tracking. And Cobain initially resisted the idea and didn't want to sound like all the mainstream stuff at the time. But Vig would go on. Vig would big what? Holy
huge.
Smokes. Today's
huge
rough.
would go on.
Today's rough. He would convince him simply by stating that John Lennon double tracked. And Cobain would later go on to state that Vig recorded the album perfectly, and this led him eventually to be known as the Nevermind Man, because that was probably one of the best-selling albums of all time.
Still probably is.
Yeah, except for that kid now who's suing him. What the heck is going on with that? He showed his little dink, and now he's suing.
Don't put your cock on an album cover is what you want.
He's probably just mad because his penis is still that tiny, and he's swimming around.
Same size.
It hasn't changed much. So, and he would go on to record some of the most influential albums in this period, including Smashing Pumpkins, Siamese Dream, which is one of my favorite albums, as stated before.
Yep.
Sonic Youth, Dirty, huge. And Experimental Jet Set, Trash, and No Star.
Yep.
In the mid-90s, after all the success, he wanted to start playing music again and formed the band Garbage with his past friends, as mentioned before. And part of the reason, he stated, part of the reason why I started Garbage was that by the time I had done Nevermind, I had recorded, I swear to God, 1,000 bands that were just guitar, bass, and drums.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading about all these other records that I was getting excited about, like Public Enemy, using a sampler in the studio, and I just decided I wanted to start doing a bit of a U-turn, which kind of with Garbage he did a little bit of that.
Yeah. I would imagine that after years of recording the same exact, bands essentially day after day, you start to want to put new stuff, in the songs.
Oh, yeah.
And you can't tell a band to use a sampler if they don't use one. If they don't want to use a drum machine, they don't want to use a drum machine.
And think about like the 90s music. None of it had like atmospheric in it like it does today, right?
Especially not the grunge shit.
Yeah, it was just like, it was guitar, bass, drums, and just hard.
Very, very much so.
And Steve, Marker, Vig, and Erickson would go on to hire Scottish singer Shirley Manson. And this is what And this is what I'm like, this is where the dubbing, the hit machine came in, right? From 95 to 96, a string of massive hits were created with Butch Vig, including Stupid Girl and Only Happy When It Rains. And you're probably going to recognize these songs. If you don't, I don't know where you've been.
Yeah, hey, these are just two very, very radio-friendly, iconic songs.
Yeah. Just this, like the overdubbing, pour your misery down. Just so good. Just overlapping that and making it repeat with like double tracking. It's just incredible. And the debut album, self-titled, was a huge hit and took off, selling 4 million copies and going double platinum. In 1998, the band put out version 2.0 and again went on to match success. Garbage was huge at the time.
Yeah.
And Garbage, even during this time, had the theme song in the 19th Bond movie, The World Is Not Enough. In 2001, the band would record their third album, Beautiful Garbage, and unlike the others, did not meet up to the success as the others, and the band sort of disbanded in 2003. They would go on to regroup again to put out another album, Bleed Like Me, in 2005, which actually did do a little bit better.
Sure.
But the flame would kind of burn out, and all of them kind of wanted to pursue their own personal interests. And the band always continued to record stuff and even released a greatest hits album and other albums and that never did as large, but added to the discography, including Not Your Kind of People and Strange Little Birds. But Butch would still continue music and would continue to play and formed other bands over the years. And in 2011, he started a band, the Emperors of Wyoming, and in 2017 would debut another musical interest called 5 Billion Diamonds. And I know we were just talking before the episode about Garbage releasing another album, and it's actually really good. It's super good.
Yeah. That was a new release, I think, just within the last maybe month, and they're playing a song on heavy rotation right now on 88.9
nice.
From the new Garbage album.
Sweet. Yeah, it's crazy, but it's like those first two, man. I even had a copy of them actually because I loved Garbage.
Yeah.
And over his entire career, he has recorded some of the most influential music in my life, including the Goo Goo Dolls, which I love the Goo Goo Dolls. I don't care what anyone says, man.
Yeah,
A Boy Named Goo was just like one of the best albums.
Such an incredible set of talent there. I know you and I both. We had these albums, and we still listen to them today. We sort of cherish that sound.
It's just the weird tunings of guitars, like just experimenting. Like that's why I love the Goo Goo Dolls.
Especially with Goo Goo Dolls, yeah.
And of course, other bands including Against Me, Nirvana, Smashing Pumpkins, The Subways, Sonic Youth, Soul Asylum, Garbage, of course, Foo Fighters. What can I say about Foo Fighters? It's just huge. Silver Sun Pickups, Jimmy Eat World, Muse, and Green Day, just to name a few. And if you want to learn more, obviously, we can't include everything in this episode. There's a lot of information about Butch Vig. Summing this down into a 15-minute episode is never easy. I'm going to be honest with you. Even all these episodes we put together.
I was just going to say, whether we're talking about Butch Vig or, some inventor from Wisconsin's awesome, illustrious history, it doesn't really matter. It's tough to kind of boil these things down to their basics in order to keep the episode somewhat manageable for them to listen to. But Butch Vig, and I'm sure you have more to talk about here.
Tons.
Butch Vig to me is some of my more formidable years of listening to music and becoming just a person, and so he's deeply ingrained in everything that I am because of the music that I was listening to, growing up. And more recently, and I'll just sort of say this quickly, but he worked with Foo Fighters on a couple of very huge projects, in my opinion. Number one, the album Wasted Light. The Wasting Light so it won Rock Album of the Year. I don't know if it was deeper than that, but and that was recorded in Dave Grohl's garage by Butch Vig, using tape machines and the real methods of recording that rock bands know from the 50s, 60s, 70s. The real way of doing it, not computers. And the second thing was Sonic Highways. Now, I don't think that album got as much credit as it's due, but that's also, I think, in part due to people not having HBO. And the reason why I mention HBO is because it was a documentary as much as it was an album. Individuals were encouraged to watch the episodes on HBO because each song was recorded in a new city, and each city has its own flair. So they talk about in one of the episodes, like Chicago, the music industry in Chicago, how it got started, how all of these musicians made their way to Chicago, because none of them were born there. Right. They all made their way there eventually, and the city had its own way of expressing itself through the musicians, and that's the kind of story that they tell. And then they also record at a very iconic recording studio in each one of those cities. Electric Audio, I think it's called, with another iconic Nirvana individual, Steve Albini.
Oh, yeah.
He owns the studio in Chicago in which Butch Vig and Foo Fighters recorded in this episode. So
actually, what's crazy is one of our friends, Mike, recorded there with one of his bands. I mean, Steve Albini has been
and Steve Albini is another one of those guys that, he could have his own episode on whatever podcast is from whatever city he's from. Just an absolutely iconic individual with records to show you everything that he's about, without ever even playing on the record. I think it's really neat, how we talked about Butch Vig. He produced a lot of these albums, so he's not actually playing on them, but you get a sense of who that person is just by listening to their credits there.
Yeah, exactly. And like I was going to state next is, Butch Vig is probably one of the main reasons why I picked up an instrument, because of the music of the 90s.
Yeah.
I started on bass, and then I started playing drums, and then I got on guitar, which it's nice to be able to play all three, because sometimes you can go back and overdub something, on a track, which is nice to know how to do.
I do none of the instruments well. I just do them all at like a mediocre level.
Yeah, and I know how to read notes. I'm not an expert player, but I know how to read sheet music, and all the stuff was all from school, and
I don't even know how to do that.
If you call out a note, I know which note you need me to play and stuff like that. Maybe I'm not obviously a virtuoso, but I can play rhythm guitar, I can play bass, I can play drums and keep that rhythm going. For somebody who can play lead, which that's huge. Another thing, I know like 2 scales. I don't know like a million like everyone else, so like a lot of our friends do.
It's pretty wild.
So I do owe a lot of influence on my life from Butch Vig, and I'm proud that he's a Wisconsinite. Amazing.
Yeah, like we've sort of summed up here in the last just 2 minutes of the podcast. It's thank you, Butch Vig, for being an absolutely influential individual and creating some of the best music that we've heard yet.
And that's going to conclude our main segment today. Now on to the music segment.
All right, so as promised, we are on to our music segment. This one is really, like we said before,
we got the cream of the crop, baby.
Yeah, bands that we think could easily be produced by and sound awesome by Butch Vig. This one, I mean,
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
Getting hints of like post-hardcore, post-punk a little bit. Go ahead.
I was just going to say the band is American Bandit. They're from the Milwaukee area. They're sort of in that post-hardcore, post-punk, just good, all around good rock music. And the track itself that we had sort of talked to them about using was it's actually a cover that they did of a Tailgated song called Drugs. And I guess the reason why I chose this one is it's just such an amazing version, which it will help if you go back and you listen to Tailgated and his version of Drugs. But this one just really, it rips, man. And the original song's okay. It's it's an all right, tune. It's fun. It's I think, the original is more of an acoustic / rap kind of thing that goes on. But the way that American Bandit does it, it rips, man.
The music video is really awesome.
It is.
It's really good.
They're wearing the big heads,
like animals.
panda and horse heads and stuff from like Walmart or whatever. This version, I think, is in a great representation of what American Bandit can do for a song that's already good.
Yeah.
And then obviously their original music that they write and record is, just off the charts cool. I really like this band. I think that they're going to continue to make amazing music and hopefully go nothing but north of this kind of success that they've already had.
North right to the UP, baby. That's what
north right to the UP.
All right.
So again, this is American Bandit, Drugs.
I don't want to tell my mom I smoke this weed. I don't want to tell my dad he'll call me weak. I don't want to be the blackest of the sheep, missing their call every single week. I don't want to say, sometimes I do. Drugs, not hard ones, just ones that change my mind up. Drugs, can't find us. If you think I'm gone, I'm just doing drugs. Not hard ones, just ones that change my mind up. Don't mind me if I light up, only need it sorta kinda. Sometimes I don't care, sometimes I cry too. Sometimes life's a little hard to get used to. Occasionally I forget to sleep. Remind myself that I gotta eat 3 times a day this week. Try not to clench my teeth. Got a little OCD. Listen to the CDC when I'm feeling uneasy. Sometimes I do. Drugs, not hard ones, just ones that change my mind up. Drugs, can't find us. If you think I'm gone, I'm just doing drugs. Not hard ones, just ones that change my mind up. Don't mind me if I light up, only need it sorta kinda. Drugs. Sometimes I do drugs, not hard ones, just ones that change my mind up. Drugs, can't find us. If you think I'm gone, I'm just doing drugs. Not hard ones, just ones that change my mind up. Don't mind me if I light up, only need it sorta. Sometimes I do drugs, not hard ones, just ones that change my mind up. Drugs, can't find us. If you think I'm gone, I'm just doing drugs. Not hard ones, just ones that change my mind up. Don't mind me if I light up, only need it sorta kinda. Drugs. Drugs. All I'm just doing drugs. Drugs.
Oh, for Christ's sake, that was awesome.
good. Holy smokes.
American Bandits, Drugs. Again, that one was a cover Like we said, Tailgated, you've heard his music on the pop charts. He's an absolutely amazing artist, but I think, in my personal opinion, whatever it's worth, American Bandits did that song so much justice.
Yeah.
Like I said before in sort of my unpackaging of this whole thing, American Bandits, they took a song that originally was good, but it was plain. It was kind of mellow, and they made it be something that like I said, I think is just absolutely phenomenal. So check them out. They're from Milwaukee. They are all over Spotify and all that stuff. Buy their album or songs if you can afford to. If not, maybe they're going to be playing somewhere that you are able to go to and actually see a show. I know that they are good live. I have seen them at least once on some of the bills in Milwaukee, but check them out. They're absolutely amazing. Now we have a beautiful beer review, and this one is a classic. The reason why we're throwing in this one now is because it's sort of the end of summer. Every year, Russ's birthday sort of brings on the fall. It's generally the start of Oktoberfest right at this point in time, kind of that mid-September, early September, mid-September. And this one is a Leinenkugel's classic.
Yeah, so the burr months are my favorite, honestly. I love September, October,
Absolutely.
November are always my favorite. Even December is pretty awesome. And this is kind of a follow-up, too, because we just had Katie Leinenkugel come on the show. And obviously this one's the classic summer. We're drinking the Leinenkugel Summer Shandy, right?
Yeah, we are.
And this one is coming in at 4.2% ABV. And the IBU is pretty low again, 11. So, there's no bitterness.
Drinkability is high on this.
And if you don't know what a shandy, or sometimes referred to as a radler, it is a beer with a fruit flavor or fruit-infused beer.
Right.
And this one specifically is their own unique take on a Franz Kugler's original Munich tavern tradition in Germany. And it's one of my favorite summer beers. And today it's a little chilly this morning, and I still sipping one of these bad boys before summer ends here. And,
yeah, you called and woke me up today. In fact.
Oh yeah.
I had a fantasy football draft yesterday, and it was my normal big one. It's the one I've been in this league for over a decade now, and the core base of guys. Includes Nate Hansen, our really good friend of the show, and just really awesome dude in general. Hansen Screen Printing, if you haven't checked them out, if you need stuff printed, we use Nate Hansen for a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah,
all of our banners. He created the logo for the studio here. We record in Project Cape Studio, and this beer alone brings back so many memories of summer concert series and stuff. I love it. It's such a good drinkable beer.
Yeah, and so it has obviously the hint of the lemonade flavor, kind of coming in subtly. You're getting that Weiss, which is like a wheat beer flavor as well on top of it. And the lemonade isn't strong. It's just coming through with a hint.
Yes.
This one pours really clear. It's like golden color. Nice head on it when it pours. One of my favorites, obviously, is Summertime. It's another just Wisconsin classic, and if you haven't tried it, you got to. And actually, this beer in 2012, the Summer Shandy actually won the silver medal at the Great American Beer Festival in the fruit wheat beer category, which is pretty impressive, right? Because there's hundreds of thousands of beers entered into that.
I was just gonna say, it's the amount of entries in all of these different categories for these beers is countless. I mean, these people are probably getting absolutely drunk by trying all these beers. So to say that the Summer Shandy won a silver medal is amazing. That speaks largely to the great flavor and the careful brewing that goes into this.
Yeah, and obviously, you're not getting, with the bittering units, you're not getting a lot of that hop flavor. And actually, you know what? This one is more of a malt up front beer. It's not, obviously, you're not getting a really bitter like an IPA or something. So you're getting more of the maltiness with the hint of the lemonade. And obviously, what can I say this doesn't pair with? But, I mean, based on their website, I mean, they say like barbecue chicken, fruit salads, watermelon, you know, anything you're going to have at your grill, basically. And this one pairs with anything. I mean, I've tater tots. And summer shandy. Anything pairs well with
so
this.
many tater tots with this beer.
And I mean, anything. You can eat anything this will pair with it because it's so light.
You know what I really like in the summer? And that I didn't have any of this summer, but cucumber salad.
Oh, yeah, that's
You
good.
a big fan of that?
It's like nice and fresh tasting.
It is.
Kind of fresca, if you will. Yeah, it's
You
good.
could zest a lemon right on the top of that, and it's absolutely phenomenal. And like you said, this beer, whatever you're eating, just sort of enhances the whole get up, you know.
And for me, it's you know, going out to the grill, wrapping up that fish fillet with some lemon, pepper, letting that sucker just slow cook on your grill.
Yeah.
And with one of these, like the tastes they're identical, right? Like they match perfectly. It's one of my favorite things that you drink with this to have with a summer shandy. But what can I say? I mean, you know, summer shandy you can find it anywhere, right?
Yeah.
You can go to Piggly Wiggly, Schnucks, Sendix. You're gonna find this beer. It's legendary.
You could
Wisconsin.
probably just look like under your rug. There's probably a summer shandy hanging out somewhere in your couch.
Check your couch cushions. It's sitting in there. But
Yeah.
you know this one too. It's not just Wisconsin, right? It's not like a New Glarus beer where you can get this one pretty much anywhere,
Right.
Anywhere in the United States, wherever distribution of Leinenkugels is at.
I believe it is still a seasonal release, though. In theory,
yeah.
Some stores might still have like cases left over and stuff, but like as far as when they're released and when they're brewed, I believe it still is technically a seasonal release.
And I actually don't know. I haven't seen this in a very long time, but as one of my favorite Leinenkugels beers was Sunset Wheat.
Yeah,
I haven't seen that in a long time, but that used to be one of my go-to like summer beers. Had like a fruity Pebbles back taste to it. It was just one of my favorite beers, and I haven't seen it in a while. So Katie Leinenkugel, if you can let us know if that one's coming back, I miss that beer a lot.
Yeah, and feel free to rebrand the Sunset Wheat as the Wisconsin Drunken History Wheat or something.
Yeah, if you want to, throw our logo on that sucker. We'd love. I mean, I love that beer.
This is a delicious tasting beer. And I'm assuming that every single one of the listeners has had at least one or maybe 300 of these. But hey, this is just to serve as sort of a reminder that it exists and it is absolutely delicious. Enjoy one with us.
Grab a seat, gather round, join us for a chat. How many locos you had?
All right.
All right, folks.
Wow.
Woo! We know what that means. Holy smoke, it's how many locos you have.
So this one is just a crazy story and should probably never happen. But
and this thing's because the article, like, it doesn't have a lot of detail in it, but we're going to kind of go over and give a little take on some things here. So
yeah, in fact, we have a kind of a personal story that goes along with this. Not goes along with, but so we'll just jump right in here. The article title is "Lacrosse Man Pees in Aisle of Quick Trip Before Getting His 5th DUI." So the police were tipped off to a drunk guy at the gas station, Quick Trip, on George Street because he urinated in the candy aisle before leaving in his Chevy Trailblazer.
holy smokes, he's going to grab a Baby Ruth, but he took a squeege beforehand. Holy cow.
So that's literally all that we have.
You know what's funny too is like so here's how I found these articles. Like Quick Trip DUI. You should see how many popped up. It's like how could these people desecrate what is the legend of Wisconsin Quick Trip, right? I mean, it's like
in this article
huge.
Calling it a gas station.
It's not. It's
Come on.
It's a sacred temple.
This is a sacred temple of Quick Trip.
I know.
This is the KT, baby.
Yeah, you don't mess around in KT.
You don't call it a gas station. That's doing it complete injustice. So I'll go ahead and share a quick real life story, and then you and I will give our
Sure.
impression of what this man getting his 5th DUI was. So this happened back in, I believe, 2013. I went to the Packers game against the Arizona Cardinals, and this was early in the Packers season in 2013. So probably like within the first couple games, because this was November. And I went with my friend Lucas Reamer, and we had drank a considerable amount of beer before we went in. We each had like our case of beer, whatever that we brought, of whatever flavor we enjoyed at the time. And so we drank, almost the entire case of beer each, and went in to the game, and both had numerous beers in the stadium. And then when we left, as a lot of people know, the parking lots there, especially when you're parked in someone's front yard like we were, they take a little bit of time. Somebody who's parked in front of you hasn't gotten out there yet and all that stuff, so you can't even move. So we were back at the truck, and we still had some beers left, so I was finishing off both my case. I was finishing off his case because he wasn't going to drink anymore before we got on the road. And about an hour maybe passed before we were able to actually take off. Now, this was a noon game, so maybe this is about 5 o'clock now, and we're going to be making our way back to Milwaukee, where I was living at the time. And we got on the road, and I immediately, as soon as we got like basically on the highway, was like, I gotta piss. I gotta piss bad. Like this is a no joke situation. And the traffic is always bumper to bumper until you get to like that one area, maybe like Richfield or something like that, where all the traffic kind of splits and goes, the people that need to go west, this way, and people that are still heading south go this way. And this was far before that point. We were just on the road. And so I was like, dude, the next turnoff, you've got to take the exit because I have to piss. So we made it to a gas station, just some mobile, gas station. And as soon as I walk in, I witness two girls go into the men's room. So and the women's, I saw them test the women's room handle, and it was no go.
Yeah.
So they headed into the men's room. I'm standing there waiting for one of those two bathrooms to break up. As soon as I see a door open, I'm going to march in there and piss everywhere. It didn't happen.
Oh, man.
Nobody opened up a door.
Those girls were taking a number two.
So I am standing on the rug outside of the bathroom near like the map rack. Oh. And I am just standing there with my legs shaking. And neither one of the doors opened. And then all of a sudden my body was like, can't hold it anymore, man. It's done. And I started pissing my pants uncontrollably into my boot.
Nice.
Gnarly, bro.
Yeah.
I've never once, as an adult, been standing in just a spot and my body was like, Pete, now you're peeing. Never had that. This happened.
Holy
and
smokes. So that mobile was desecrated with
I may have
pee.
pissed all over that rug. I'm not really sure what the hell
Hopefully
happened.
it absorbed a little bit. So.
Yeah. So, but it doesn't sound like the article is telling me that this guy uncontrollably was whizzing his pants.
No,
I feel like he actually pulled his, dinger out and just started pissing in the candy and was like, this is the bathroom now. And that's a 5th DUI.
Yeah, and he's a lacrosse man, 5th DUI. We don't have an age. We don't have actually a lot of details.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, to pull out your ding ding, I mean, you have to have some balls, right?
And piss in the Snicker aisle.
Yeah. Grabbing a couple of Reese's cups and just letting her rip.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say I think I have some sort of a figure here.
I think I got a decent number too.
And again, we're really just basing this off of the fact that this is his 5th.
Right, so he has some tolerance and, so he's probably a little bit up there,
Yeah.
So do you want to go on 3?
Yeah. You count it off.
3, 2, 1.
8.
12. I was thinking 12, maybe a little higher.
We'll meet in the middle.
Yeah, let's go with a 10 local
10
on this.
loc.
And I mean, you know what, Wisconsinites, don't pee in your local Quick Trip.
No.
They're like sacred ground for us, right?
You can go to a BP. You can go to a Mobile.
Don't go to
piss
a mobile.
anywhere you want.
Yeah, pee in them. We don't care about those.
Quick
but
Trip is
our
not
Quick
the
Trip
place.
is like sacred ground. I mean, whether it comes to chicken sandwiches, to the mushroom Swiss Angus, one of my favorites.
Yeah, egg rolls and
you can't.
cheesy spuds.
What did we just try last time though? Jalapeno poppers.
The jalapeno
Holy
poppers.
smokes, those
They
were
didn't
good.
even have a barcode for it.
No,
they had to
they're
create a
new.
new sticker for it.
And they were actually spicy. Like they were good.
crazy spicy. Immediately, I bit into that thing and I had the hiccups. So
You're like, this is hot.
yeah. 10 Loco. Like we said, don't piss in the Quick Trip.
All right, we're here with the legendary Ryan from Bloomers Brewery in Bloomers, Wisconsin. How you doing, Ryan?
Hey, doing great. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming on and
thanks
spending
for
your
coming
Sunday
on.
with us. We love it. So we were going to ask you, how did you guys get your start at Bloomers?
Well, it kind of dates back to early 2000. I actually started home brewing while I was going to college at the University of Wisconsin-Platteville. And I just got introduced to home brewing by some guys that were doing it in their dorm rooms, and we later started doing it in the garages, and it just kind of grew from there. So we originally just started from home brewing. My professional career eventually took me to Florida, where I still continued to home brew. And once, when visiting me, my dad finally started to get interested. He realized I was making this beer, and he brewed with me, and next thing you know, he got hooked, and he actually
Cool.
brought it home and started. He kind of took it to the next level. The next thing you know, I'm talking to him, and he says, "Yeah, I think I'm gonna open a tap room and build a bigger system." Okay.
That's awesome.
Kind of how it got the wheels on the ground. So
Awesome. Hey, and sometimes that's all it takes. It's just, one of you has to have that sort of push to to just make it like that leap, And
that's right.
It's an absolutely phenomenal story because Russ and I we did the home brewing thing for a while, and neither one of us really made that push. We talked about it for a minute, but
every day, but it's like,
yeah,
it's cool.
We made some really great beers that, hey, at least it got us drunk for a while.
Yep. I think most guys who are in it originally started in the home brew. At least most of your brewers.
Yeah. Now, so you went to Platteville. Did you ever jump off the bridge into the river?
No, I never did that.
Okay, because that's like one of the first times I ever went to Platteville. That's exactly what they did. All of a sudden, I'm there, and I'm dressed in my polo shirt and my shorts, cargo shorts or whatever, and everybody's like, "Oh, let's go to the bridge and we'll jump into the river." And I was like, "I don't think so," but I watched everybody do it, and then I visited the teak house frequently.
Oh yeah.
I had some really cool times at Platteville. That's for sure.
That was a good party house, teak house. You had farmhouse. Farmhouse was fun.
Farmhouse. Yep.
And then, man, during my tenure here, we threw the occasional great house party or two as well.
Awesome.
I love it.
So Ryan, is there any brews we need to keep our eye out from Bloomers that you're recommending us try out?
Yeah, you bet there is. Most of these are available just in the tap room, but there is a few that are out in distribution in the local Eau Claire area. But
okay,
the new stuff that we've got coming out right now, we just released our Oktoberfest not too long ago. That's a fantastic, medium-bodied, everything you'd expect from an Oktoberfest, good malty lager. Then this fall, we're transitioning, getting ready to brew our fall and winter seasonal beers. So we just brewed our Hog Breath, which is a smoky maple bacon brown ale.
Ooh.
Holy smokes.
That's right. Really good. We've also got that bourbon aging in a bourbon barrel, which is going to be getting uncast and kegged at the end of October. So we've had that in there for a year. That's been aging in a Woodford Reserve bourbon barrel.
Ooh, nice.
That's right. We've also got a spiced lager that we come out with about early November timeframe. It's an amber spiced lager. We spice it with nutmeg. That's really tasty. And then we're brewing our Bock and our Stout again, making some little adjustments to them, but really good fall and winter seasonal beers are kind of coming right around the corner now.
Yeah, that nutmeg one would be great during like the Thanksgiving feast.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's really good.
Amazing.
Yeah.
We also take that beer and then I always keep a couple extra kegs aside, and we give it a little shot of some peppermint.
Oh, yeah.
And if you come up to the tap room, you can mix that with our s'more beer, and it tastes just like the Girl Scout Thin Mint cookies when you mix them together. That's a pretty good little shot there.
I'm in.
You're sold. You sold me. I'm in. So, and yeah, it's nice. I love those heavy beers, especially this time of year. They just kind of warm you up. It's like drinking oil. You're like, oh yeah, that's where it's at.
That's right.
You need it a little bit more, you know.
And
Yep, you wake up in the mornings are a little cool. I'm starting to feel the transition from sour to dark.
Yeah, exactly. You need a little higher viscosity
That's right.
running through your bones, you know.
10W stout.
Yeah.
That's what we're going for.
That's right.
So, and then we were going to ask too, is there any events we need to keep an eye out for Bloomers? I know this like last year has just been weird, but
Yeah.
we were just going to see if there's anything coming up. We can come visit you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you what. The next one is next Saturday, September 11th. This is a huge one. We're doing free beer. We're calling the event Free Beer for Freedom. There's going to be free beer, no strings attached, no gimmick. You come on up and you can drink free beer from 1 to 5. And this whole event is being sponsored by Valiant Roofing. Now, these guys are out of the Twin Cities. I believe they're out of Woodbury. And they recently replaced a ton of roofs right around the Bloomer area here. And they did pretty good financially. And they approached us and said, hey, we want to give back to the community. We want to sponsor a big party, an event. So this is what they came up with.
Awesome.
They're doing free beer. And for every beer we pour, they're making donations to the Wounded Warrior Project. So that's
I love it.
Huge event. So what more can you ask for? You come on up, you have free beer, and then for drinking a beer, money gets donated to the Wounded Warrior Project.
I love it. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that, like you said, that is an absolutely amazing charitable thing. I love it. And I don't know that Russ and I will be up there, but I guarantee we're going to be drinking a beer in spirit.
You bet. You betcha.
Yeah, it's nice that our Minnesota Vikings brothers are helping us out over here too. So I know with the Packer divisions there, but
Absolutely.
So yeah, before we let you go too, we ask our guests about 8 questions to find out how Wisconsin are you. Are you ready for this one?
Oh boy, I hope I am.
Here we go. All right. So if we're making a beer brat, is there a beer from Bloomers we have to try to use in our beer brat?
Oh, no doubt. You have to use the Oktoberfest. That's the only way to cook a brat.
Yeah.
Sounds good. It's like a little bit of amber in there. Oh yeah.
And that's what's nice is I've used Oktoberfests in my brats before, and it absolutely does. It changes the dynamic just ever so slightly, and it makes it so much tastier.
Yeah, another good one too. I actually cooked some brats in a sour beer as well too. That was interesting.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so next one we have for you. Have you ever tailgated at a Brewers, Packers, or a Badgers game, or all 3?
All 3, baby.
Oh, the trifecta.
It's been a while since we had a trifecta.
We haven't had a trifecta on here in a long time, so this is pretty impressive.
You're hitting the cycle.
Hey, I'll throw a 4th one in there too. I've tailgated at a bunch of UW Pioneer football games as well.
Oh,
There
the
you
Quattro.
go. The old Platteville Pioneers, baby.
The Quat. All right, so the next one we got for you, have you ever been to Summerfest, and do you have a memorable band you've seen at Summerfest?
Oh my God, you're gonna kill me. I've never been to Summerfest.
Well, how about State Fair?
State Fair, I've been to. Yes.
Okay.
Do you have a memorable band you saw at the State Fair?
You know, I'm more keen to the old '70s rock bands. I saw Tom Petty down there once at the State Fair years ago. I think that was probably my favorite memory from down there.
Yeah.
I think that might have been the only time I went to the State Fair.
Yeah, State Fair is it's a staple, and mostly just for the fried food. But every once in a while, like you said, they get a good listing for bands, and I mean, you know, I avoid Summerfest at all costs these days, but the State Fair, for some reason, it keeps getting me, you know.
Oh yeah.
When those cream puffs come a calling every year, right?
Whatever they put on a stick, man, I'm in. I don't know.
All right, so the next one we got. So this is going to be interesting. From the Eau Claire area, what do you guys consider to be up north in Eau Claire?
Well, how about Strait Fair? You know, I'm more keen to the old '70s rock bands. I saw Tom Petty down there once at the State Fair years ago. I think that was probably my favorite memory from down there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Bloomer. To me, up north is when you get north of Highway 64, and I'll tell you why. When I was a kid growing up, going to the lakes, camping, fishing, hunting in northern Wisconsin, it always seemed like as soon as you got north of Highway 64, if you were tall enough to put money on the bar, they would serve you whatever you asked.
Hell yeah.
That's right.
I'll high five to that.
All right, so we got two more for you. Have you ever been to a supper club, and is there one you recommend our audience go and check out?
Oh, gosh, who hasn't been to a supper club?
Right.
I try to go and get Friday night fish as often as I can.
Yes.
Around me, my favorite one is called Old Abe's. And
Okay.
It's fantastic. It's right here, kind of Chippewa, Jim Falls area. It's kind of a hole-in-the-wall place. You know, it's one that's been around forever. And when you pull up to it, it looks like it used to be an old trailer house or something that's been added onto a number of times. And
Yeah.
it's that classic Wisconsin supper club that's been around probably since 1950.
It's dark as hell. The only thing that's light in the room is a candle, a dimly lit candle at best. Yeah. The carpet.
The glow of old fashions in the back.
The carpet reeks of beer and old cheddar, and you got the relish bar in the corner. I absolutely love it. I tell you what, there is nothing more romantic than a supper club. I just absolutely love everything about it.
Oh, yeah.
Those dark wood walls, taxidermy.
There might
You
actually
bet.
be a hole in the wall,
There might.
but they're hanging a
There might
picture
be
in front of
carpet
it.
on the wall, too.
They're probably
You
carpet
never
on the
know.
wall.
You never know.
Yeah, we got so much extra carpet. Let's just put it on the wall.
It's good for the acoustics.
Yeah.
It's not the diet.
Keeps the ambiance in the restaurant.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the last one we got for you, and this is always a tough one when we're talking to a brewery owner. Obviously, besides Bloomer, which we're going to come and check out soon, is there another brewery tour, tap room, or anything you recommend our listeners go and visit? And it doesn't have to be just in Wisconsin,
Right.
too.
It could be over in the Twin Cities or something too.
Yeah. I don't get over to the cities too often. I regret. There are a number of them that I really want to check out. Around me, I would recommend Moonridge Brewing Company. They're in Cornell. I know Roger really well. He's a really good guy.
Awesome.
And he's got some fantastic beers. And another new one that's kind of sprung up within the last couple of years is Heart of the North. Now they're in Ladysmith. They're brewing on a really small system, but they put out some really good beers. And their tap room is inside. It's actually inside a greenhouse. So it's like a whole glass.
Wow.
Greenhouse. Wow. It's a really cool place. They got a really cool outside. Those two are really awesome near me. I'd say the coolest one I've been to out of state in Jacksonville, Florida. I've been to one called Wicked Barley. That's a really cool place. It's right alongside the St. Johns River. They've got a really cool outside area, awesome beers, really cool place.
Nice.
So, Ryan, since you've been in Florida, have you had a chance to go and check out Cigar City? Everyone talks Cigar City up.
Oh, yeah. Tampa. I've spent some time in Tampa, Cigar City, but I haven't been to Cigar City Brewing Company now.
Okay.
I've had a lot of their beers in Florida, but I haven't been there. Another really good one in Florida. Actually, my in-laws live in Cape Canaveral.
Okay.
There's one really close by there called Playa Linda. And
wow.
They are phenomenal. They've got just an awesome variety of beers. They're right kind of on the Space Coast. They're probably the best one right around that. Probably within about a 50-mile radius of Cape Canaveral there. That's a really good one. But no, awesome. I haven't made it to Cigar City yet, unfortunately.
Ryan, thank you so much for your time. This was awesome.
Yeah.
We can't wait to make it up to Bloomers. Thank you for your time on this Sunday.
Hey, absolutely. Thank you guys. Cheers.
Cheers, Ryan.
Cheers, and have a great rest of your holiday weekend.
Absolutely. You guys too. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, that concludes this episode of Wisconsin Drunken History Podcast.
If you enjoyed this vulgar display of Wisconsin, please like and subscribe on whatever streaming platform you prefer. And remember to hit the bell on YouTube to be notified when we release new content.
Also, if you have any suggestions or ideas for future episodes, please send us an email at widrunkenhistory@gmail.com or head over to our Facebook and Instagram pages.
Thanks again for listening, and remember, as always,
Watch out for deer on your way home.